What's going on? What's going on? This is Will here. I am going to do a call review, and it's been a little while. It's been a little while. I've been working on a lot of different projects, or I should say, I've been working on a project in particular, and it's been a little while since I did a call review. So, if you're new to the channel, I am Will, and I'm a final expense life insurance agent. And I teach people how to be the most productive they can on each phone call that they have with a client so that that call can end in a sale. And I've run into so many people who have agents who have just been unsuccessful. They have to deal with objections and, at the end of the call, and things don't go as well as they plan, which affects your income, which ultimately affects your residual and renewal income if you are receiving it, which a lot of people aren't. So I'm going to coach you here a little bit by you listening to one of my calls and seeing how things are going. So let's go ahead and get started here. I haven't listened to this call since I did the call. So this call is probably about 4 days old right now. All right, let's get into it.
So you did give me a secret code word here of rabbit.
Yeah.
All right. So I just need to get a better understanding of what it is that you might be looking for to even see if we can help out in the first place. Would that be okay?
That's fine.
So just that question right there, I just need to get a good idea of what it is that you might be looking for. Would that be okay? That's asking permission. You're getting permission from them to be able to ask them questions. Okay. That's an important part of the call.
All right. So Michael, what happened that's got you looking for some coverage? Just out of curiosity, right now.
Well, in May, I ended up in the hospital. I had a couple strokes and some other stuff going on. But before then, in April, I was talking to an acquaintance's sister. She sells life insurance. And I don't even remember having a conversation with her. But I did sign up for something. And when I woke up in the hospital in June and got my phone back from my sister, I was seeing that the payments was coming.
So I want to stop it here. He was in the hospital in May. He said he woke up in June. Okay. So those are some indications that you kind of get an idea that there's something that has been going on that is is a challenge.
Out of my account. So when I finally got home in July, I called and talked to her briefly because I didn't even remember signing up with her. But I found the policy when I got home and all the mail and stuff, and I was looking over it the other day, and it's only for 12,000, but it's a let me see, graded death benefit, guaranteed issue, ordinary whole life with limited natural death benefits during the first two policy years, accidental death benefit, non-participating, premiums payable throughout the lifetime of the insured, built-in terminal illness, accelerated death benefit, and accidental dismemberment benefits. But it was only
All right. So what we know he has is he has a 2 year graded policy, which means that he's on a 2 year waiting period. So we don't. It doesn't really matter to us what he currently has per se, in the sense that I'm going to do the best to present him with something that makes sense for him.
for 12,000, and I look back through our text messages and the options that she gave. Hold on, let me look it up here. All right, let's see here. The options that were given were
Mm-hmm.
10,000, 12,000, and 15,000.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing I do remember briefly her saying there wasn't too many options because I am a dialysis patient. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's all that she could.
So he's given a lot of information. This is this discovery part. This is the information that you need in order to figure out what might be the option for him. So this discovery part is so important at the beginning of the call.
Offer me at the time, so I picked the one in the middle. But I went back and looked over those messages between us. But I vaguely remember talking to her about why the actual coverage amounts were so low. I guess it had something to do with my health condition. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about, to see if y'all offered more coverage or if it was the same shindig.
Now, you're still with that company?
Yes, I just got this activated last April.
Okay, all right. Now, how much were you looking to get additional coverage, or you're looking to replace that coverage?
It all depends on what you tell me.
Okay. How much coverage are you kind of looking for?
I mean, at least 100,000 would be great.
Okay, all right. And have you gotten any quotes recently?
So I usually ask the question, how much are you hoping to get? And I don't know why I asked it that way, but how much are you hoping to get? And we can already see that he's a little unrealistic because he's thinking that he can get 100,000 on dialysis. That was prior to him getting the policy. He was on dialysis. Then he had a stroke, and also he has, obviously he has kidney problems. So he had a stroke after he got the policy. So he's thinking that he's hoping to get 100,000.
No, because it's always the same thing. You on dialysis, so they come with well, I can't remember the other company I was with before, but it was like nickel and dime as far as life insurance is concerned.
Michael, what state are you?
Your family straight if you have to go, not still looking for here for food for funds from other places that defeat the purpose of life insurance.
Yeah. What state are you in, Michael?
North Carolina.
Okay. All right. Okay. And how long you been on dialysis?
17 years.
Did you say 17 or 13?
17.
17 years. Okay. All right. Still going strong.
Yeah. I had a 1.5 year break with a transplant I got Christmas Day 2012, and July 2015 I ended back on dialysis.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. But you did get a transplant.
So we know something else about him now, and he wants to get 100,000. He not only is he on dialysis, but he had a liver transplant. Kidney transplant, and so then he had to go back on dialysis. So there's a lot of things going on here. And this is when I talk about people having these expectations of what they can do. The life insurance company doesn't care about, who you pray to or what you believe that you should do. They only are looking at a few factors, and one of the primary factors is risks. So this is where people who is so important to educate. And that's why discovery is first and then education is next.
Enough people can't say that. All right. Okay. All right. And had you gotten any quotes from these folks that you had spoke to, or you haven't gotten any quotes yet?
Not since I've been home, though.
Not since you've been.
When I came home in July, I haven't talked to anybody.
Okay. So you said that you woke up.
So I was just curious as to if it was the same stipulations or if y'all was something different.
Okay. And you said you woke up after being asleep out for a while?
I was in the hospital from the last week of May to the 3rd week in July. First 5 weeks, I do not recall.
Man. I understand, sir. I understand. All right. So who's going to be in charge, Michael, of your arrangements and everything like that? When you pass away, who's going to be the person that's going to make the arrangements and make the phone calls and do all that stuff?
My father is the immediate contact, but then I have a wife also, but she lives in South Carolina.
So, I guess just for the sake of this conversation, what's your, well, let's say your wife, because you guys are, she's probably younger than your father. So, what's your wife's, just her first name?
Demetria?
And you're in North Carolina right as we speak, right?
Correct.
So, do you want a burial, cremation, or you're not sure?
I've always said I wanted to be cremated, but
Mm-hmm.
we got to sit down and talk about that as a family so they know,
Okay.
because it's cheaper.
Gotcha.
And I need to got to spend it to put it in the ground.
Yeah, gotcha. So, just out of curiosity, would Demetria or your father, God forbid, you pass away unexpectedly, and your life insurance didn't pay out in 24 hours, would they be able to come up with, I don't know, $10,000 in 24 hours while they're waiting for the money to come through without having to sell anything or do anything like that?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
So I asked that question because a lot of people believe that life insurance is going to pay out in 24 hours because they were told, oh, it's going to pay out right away. But here's the reality. The reality when you deal with life insurance policies that there's no life insurance company in the world that's going to pay out in 24 hours without a death certificate. And even when they get the death certificate, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. So I asked that question because when I come in later on, I'm going to explain to them in my education portion that I don't care what the life insurance company said. There's nothing that's going to pay out in 24 hours, except what we do. You know what I mean?
All right. So it sounds like you just want to make sure that you don't leave anything behind as a burden on someone else. And I guess what are the things that you're most concerned about paying for when you pass?
Of course, the services, but also where she got enough cushion, she don't got to rush back to work.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So she have a cushion, not that to work back to work. Okay. All right. So now.
Now I'm pausing way too much. That's a long pause.
Not that to work back. Okay.
That's a long pause.
All right. So now.
Because I type slow.
What would happen, Michael? I guess, please don't get mad at me for asking this question. What would happen if you couldn't find anything additional more than the 12,000, and it was either not in your budget, you didn't like the coverage, or it's just you kind of put it off just a little bit longer? What would happen then if she only had the 12,000? What would happen?
So that's called a consequence question. So I asked the consequence question because one, I know it's not going to pay out in 24 hours. And two, I'm not sure what his budget is. I'm not sure what he's working with, but I'm putting that out there because, he's coming to me. He tells me how much he wants. And I already know in my mind that he can't get that much coverage. So it's just not going to happen anywhere. So with that being the case, I want to figure out based off the consequence question, if you can't get what you're looking for, or if you put it off, then what would happen? Because I want to know consequence wise, if you didn't do anything extra, what would happen? Obviously.
Man, she could take her what do they call it? Is it FMLA? Is that what it's called?
Family leave.
And man, she'd be all right. Her house is paid for, but just the mental part, I would want her to take time.
Okay. So you're worried about the mental part. Okay. So she could take that leave with the FMLA, but that would kind of be okay. That would kind of be the only thing she had. But you don't want her to have to do that, right?
No, not that be the only thing that she has.
Yeah.
Take, as much time as needed.
Gotcha. Okay. So here's what I'm hearing. Michael, you in May you were in the hospital. You had a couple of strokes. April you had taken out some coverage. You didn't wake up until June or July.
Third week of June.
June, okay. And you've been on dialysis for 17 years, but you were able to get a policy with a $12,000 policy, paying about $65 a month. You're looking for about $100,000. You did have a transplant in 2012, but you're most concerned about making sure that your wife has a cushion so that she doesn't have to rush back to work. And you said that you want to be cremated, but y'all going to talk about it. Your father and your wife, Demetria, would be the ones that kind of responsible for taking care of everything. You don't think that they would have the funds right away to take care of that bridge before the policy paid out. So that's why you want to kind of find some additional coverage so she can have that cushion, not to rush back to work, and you're just worried about the mental toll that it would take on her. Her house is paid off, but you're really worried about that mental toll. Did I get that? Did I get that about right?
That's correct.
All right. So this must have been like a little challenging for you, just kind of trying to find something to put in place that you're comfortable with. Would that be about right?
Yeah, I know I needed something, but it's always the stipulation of being on dialysis. They kind of look at you like you're crazy.
So me labeling it, this has kind of been challenging for you. That was me labeling the problem.
I don't think you mentioned this, but we do specialize with people who are on a fixed income, who might be on Social Security disability. Is that you or?
Yeah.
No, okay, all right. So when you do get your disability payments, do they deposit into a physical bank, or is it like an online banking situation?
No, it's direct deposit.
So that question is very important for me because, with all these inventions like Chime and Cash App having a banking routing and account number, sometimes people answer that question, yes, I have a bank account. Well, that's not really a bank account. And I don't do those kind of banks because, one, if I work, I want to get paid. And I want to get paid today, tomorrow, right? I don't want to do business whereas it's going to be predicated on the fact that if your card stays in effect, or if you make sure you deposit it, having a bank account to me says a little bit about you. It says that, one, a bank will give you a bank account. Two, there's a certain level of responsibility you have to have for that. So, I need to find that information out. And this was a little challenging for me to ask this question when I first got started, because I was like, oh, how do I ask this question? But I always try to stay like wide-eyed and, like I haven't been doing this as long when I'm having a conversation with them, because I don't want to sound like I'm too sharp. Like, okay.
Just before I get into what we do, I just want to make sure you have a general understanding, Michael, of the difference between term life insurance and whole life insurance. Has anybody ever explained that to you?
And life insurance companies do give discounts for you using a direct deposit. Life insurance companies, if you do a direct draft versus like using a card or something like that, there's some companies that give you, more of a discount if you do a direct draft than you do
Probably have. I just don't remember what it is.
Okay. And that's cool. Do you mind if I just kind of break it down for you so you have an understanding?
Do your thing.
All right. So term life insurance, when you hear term life insurance, here's what I want you to remember. Terminating life insurance. It's life insurance with an expiration date. So usually it's a large amount of coverage for a small monthly fee. So like it could be like $50,000 for $29 a month. That's usually a term policy. It usually only covers you for about 10 years. Meaning if you outlive the policy, all the money you paid into it is gone. They don't give you anything back. So term insurance, it only pays out 2% of the time. So statistically, if you have 100 people that have a term policy, only 2 of those people's policies would actually pay out. because either they will outlive the policy or it becomes too expensive. And because the price goes up the longer you have the term policy. And just before it cancels, you're paying the highest amount monthly for that policy just before it cancels. But the coverage doesn't go up, just the premiums go up. Does that make sense?
So if you want to cash out before the term ends, you can't do that either?
Well, there's no cashing out because it's just basically like it's like you're renting insurance for a period. Okay. So does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. So and you shared with me earlier that you had some health issues, a dialysis and a stroke. It's extremely difficult to get this type of policy. So instead of you spinning your wheels and getting upset, I just want to help you out. You're more than likely not going to be able to get that type of policy because they're looking for people who have minimal or no health challenges at all. So here's what's happening. They're betting on you living and you're betting on you dying. In that equation, you always lose. Does that bring some clarity to term?
Yeah, you just spending money every month.
Right. And if you outlive it, it's gone. There's no get back. That's just basically how term works. So anytime you hear term, just think of a terminating policy. Now, whole life is the opposite. Whole life is a smaller amount of coverage, but the payments are affordable. Because if they weren't affordable, nobody would ever do it. So it covers you for your whole life, period.
So I because he got it, so you like spending money, and it's just, I didn't go deeper into why do you think that wouldn't be the type of coverage you would want, because he got it. So I didn't want to spend too much time on that. So then I go into the whole life portion of it. So this is getting a little bit of a long video, so I'm going to cut it right there. But I wanted you to kind of hear the fact finding, or I should say the discovery part. The discovery part is the key part of what we do, because after that, the call pretty much moves. And the thing about it is, I didn't really think that I was going to make a sale on this call. And because I was like, well, he already has, $12,000. He's spending, paying X amount of dollars for it. So I didn't think that we were actually going to do any kind of, we weren't going to do a sale here. So I'm going to just kind of fast forward through this so that you can kind of hear what happened at the end.
Okay.
And again, you agree today's date is January 11th, 2025.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, those are all the questions I have for you. And Mr. Will, he's been we'll send the application to the email address we have on file. And would you like to split the application with another agent, sir?
No.
Okay, and is there anything further I can help you with today?
Before you hang up.
All right, so that's the end of the call. So he got a policy. I was kind of surprised that he did get a policy, but he did get a policy. And this is the key here. One of the things that I'm finding is if you do a good job in your call, in the first, discovery mode of your call, you are now in a situation where you can pretty much cut out all the objections. I didn't have any objections at the end. None. Zero. So it was a longer call. It was about an hour call, only because, no, actually it was an hour call. But here's what I'm learning. If my call takes an hour and I do a sale, it's so much more beneficial to me than going through multiple calls and not making a sale. I'd rather spend time on a call a little bit longer than I would normally spend on a call prior to me changing my framework than just having these quick calls where I get through a lot of people, but I don't make sales, right? So if you're getting through a lot of calls and you're not making sales, you got to change something. And I have a training right here that goes through all the aspects, all the frameworks that I do for my script. It's not so much about the script saying all the words in the right order, but it's more about the framework of it, knowing what comes first, what comes next, and how do I get off of that call without having objections. All right. So again, I'm Will, and I'm your six-figure sales coach right here. Take care, and I look forward to talking to you and seeing you right back here real soon. Bye-bye.